Welcome to Reformgelical, where the Reformed and Evangelicals meet. My name is Matt Williams. I'm co-hosted with AD Robles. AD, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I hope everyone else is as well. I am very winsome today. Thank you very much. I'm feeling winsome all month this month.
I think Winsome November has been by far your best idea ever.
I'm such an idiot, but I'm glad that you like it.
Oh my goodness. Every once in a while you find somebody who does something so funny, it brings out a new laugh in you that you've never heard yourself do before. And you did that for me. So thank you.
Excellent.
I'm just glad no one was around to hear it.
Yes, I'm glad I wasn't around to hear it as well.
Yeah. Thank you for everyone who's joining us live, supporting us on Patreon. We really appreciate it. That helps us to continue to put out great content and great shows, and it's going to help us grow Reformgelical. So thank you very much for that. You got the two Nicks. I see Cal.
Let me just say this. Can I start off the episode this way?
Please.
All right, because we've got Nick in here, and he wanted me to talk about the moon.
Yeah. Oh, is it about the literal moon?
Yeah.
I thought it was code for something.
No, it's
okay.
The moon that you see in the sky.
It's made out of cheese?
No, it's not made out of cheese. I've talked to Nick about this briefly before, and here's where I'm at with the moon. Okay. I think it's possible that we went to the moon, but those videos, that ain't it. That's fake.
Really?
That's what I believe about the moon. I think those videos are preposterous. Absolutely preposterous.
Why is that?
They just they look preposterous on the face of it.
Okay, that's
what he wants. That's what he wants me to talk about.
That's what he wanted to talk about.
Great. I have no problem saying that. I think that. And then what about that phone call with Nixon? And he's on the phone with these guys from the moon, right? And it sounds crystal clear. In fact, it sounds clearer than I did on the last episode of Reformgelical. And we're supposed to believe that conversation is happening. I don't know how many, Nick, do you know how many miles away the moon is?
Oh my gosh. This
in real time
has lost all its credibility.
In real time. So
There's a lot of post-production done to that. That's for sure.
250,000 miles. a quarter of a million miles away. And Nixon's just like, hey, how you doing? And they're like, yeah, I'm doing great.
No delay whatsoever.
No delay.
Talk to someone in England, it's like a 30-second awkward delay.
All I know is this: when I'm in my in-laws' basement and I'm trying to make a work phone call on my cell phone, I cannot do it because I just don't get reception in the basement in New Hampshire.
What kind of work are you doing in your in-laws' basement?
Well, I work from home, and so I can work anywhere, but apparently not from the basement because I can't make a phone call from the basement.
Oh my goodness.
But anyway, so that's where I'm at. There's a lot of people out there that think we didn't go to the moon. I say it's possible that we did, but I haven't seen a video of it, and I definitely didn't hear a phone call from it.
That's funny.
Nixon's like, this is a great. We sure are proud of you, and he's like, oh yeah, we're doing great up here. Oh, that's the best part. I'm sorry to hijack this episode, but that's the best part, Nick. We haven't been back in 50 years, and then they're like, well, there's nothing up there. We're not going to go back. And then finally we're like, well, let's just go back. And yeah, but we lost the technology, and we lost all of our data, and we don't have, and it's going to be really hard to make it again. That's their excuse. We don't have the technology anymore.
Oh my goodness.
It's preposterous. It's absolutely preposterous.
It is. You just can't trust science. I'm telling you, this became the anti-science show about 3 episodes ago.
All right. So
it's
now we can
be
go
a
on
devoted
to
segment.
Now we can go on to what you wanted to talk about, but that is what Nick wanted me to talk. I'm glad to talk about that more some other time.
Yeah, we can tell. It's great. So post-mill millennial thinking is we're going to be on the moon someday. That's what we're saying here.
Some people don't think it's a place you can go.
Oh, really?
Like you can't go to the moon.
Why couldn't you go to the moon?
It's just not a place.
Oh, it's fictitious. It's like the drawing of the globe for so many years.
I'm not saying that, but some people believe that it's not a place.
Interesting. So ask me how I'm doing.
How are you doing?
I'm really exhausted, but I'm really also mad because I got my property tax bill. And I had just noticed the breakdown that half of my property tax every year goes to schools my kids are never going to go to.
Not only are they not going to go there, but it's teaching all kinds of ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if we can get a religious exemption. Didn't somebody do that for income tax with abortion? I
That sounds
remember
right to
something
me.
about that. Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Yeah. I think we should send whoever came up with the idea of paying for public schools to the moon. That's where they need to go. All right. So if you are not watching live and you are watching the show, sharing it to you, you can find us on all the social media sites, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. AD is now back on Twitter. You can find him at Real AD Robles. I'm at How to Build a Tent, and then our shows at Reformgelical. We are live streaming the show on Facebook on Reformgelical at 12 p.m. Pacific time or Eastern time. Whoa, I'm on the East Coast now, not Pacific Coast. And also, we have a YouTube channel, so if you want to check out past episodes, you can see them. We release them all on Friday at midnight. Thank you for everyone who subscribed, supporting us, and especially for those of you joining live and on this conversation and helping us go off the rails. Thank you, Nick, for that. Oh my goodness. So I don't know if you heard, but Kanye is going to Joel Osteen's church. And I really thought this just came into the news so that we would have an opportunity to talk about him, because we tried to talk about him a few times and then it kind of got pushed and he wasn't in the news anymore. I'm like, oh, well, there goes our opportunity for Kanye. But nope, it's in the news. How do you feel about Kanye going to good old Osteen's church?
I mean, I'm okay with it. I saw Marcus Pittman say that if he was invited to Joel Osteen's church to speak or something like that, that he would go and he wouldn't even ask questions. I would too, as long as I wasn't like, as long as they didn't like, ban me from saying certain things, I'd go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would totally too, without any stipulations. Honestly, I don't think I'd go anywhere if someone had stipulations about what I could and couldn't say.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
I asked a poll for all those you watching live, and one person said yes, no one else answered. So thank you for the interaction, guys. I'm just kidding. Yeah, like, why wouldn't you go to Joel Osteen's church? I think that is, I would rather go to Joel Osteen's church than a Bible believing church like John MacArthur, because I'll have the opportunity to preach the gospel that they've probably never heard before, honestly.
Yeah, I think so there is an argument to be made to not go. And I understand where they're coming from. And it basically goes like this. Joel Osteen is a heretic.
Yep. And
because he's a heretic, you're not supposed to greet them. So you're clearly not supposed to, lend them any credibility whatsoever. And I get that. I do understand where that comes from.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So people that say they wouldn't do it, I mean, I don't think that they're just being ridiculous. I think they do have a point. But if you remember, it was Matt Chandler who went to some, mamby-pamby kind of regular evangelical kind of church. It might have been Steve Furtick. I don't even remember. But anyway, he went to one of these guys that, just kind of does that kind of thing. And he brought the hammer down. I mean, he preached the gospel. It was almost like calling out that church, that pastor. Wow. And it was epic. And he's ridden that credibility for a long time, even after saying all kinds of, even after he's gone squish, like because he did that, like he's looked at as a ferocious kind of hardcore kind of dude, even though he's a big squish now.
He's a big squish.
So he got a lot of street cred for that.
It reminds me, I pulled that episode from Stephen Furtick. I was telling you guys I was going to find it. It was called The Elephant Room, and it was a James McDonald conference, but it looked like a game show platform that they were on. There was like 6 pastors. It was really great. I want to bring it back. I'm trying to get Chocolate Knox to do it for the next Fight Laugh Feast conference. Whenever we get one of those going, to get like 6 pastors from completely different perspectives, that would be fantastic. And so what I wanted to say also about, what was I going to say about that? I actually totally forgot what I was going to say about that. But I would say this too about Kanye, is that we should continue to be praying for him. And I hope that we haven't just kind of got over this whole thing, because he is going to continue to be in a hard spot. And when he is going to places like Joel Osteen's church and he has all these people wanting his attention, it's not just that he's rich now, it's that he's Christian. And so all these Christians that are after his money or after money and after have all these false motives are going to be trying to pull him away. So we need to remember that we need to start praying and continue to pray for him. And hopefully we're all doing that as well.
Yeah, I think so. And I agree with Nick in the comments here that people are going to speculate and criticize, no matter what he does. He can go to Joel Osteen's church, he can go to any church, and people are going to criticize him. So, or he can go nowhere. You know what I mean? People would criticize him. So, so honestly, like, I'm hoping that he's going to go there and he's going to be a good witness. I have no reason to think he won't. Well, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. I have some inside sources that say he's still doing his Bible study with Adam Tyson, that misogynist protege of John MacArthur.
I heard he was Federal Vision.
He is, and he's doing his best to get Kanye on board too. So we'll see how that goes. So Kanye won't be invited to Reform Pub. That's for sure.
Yes, it's very, very serious situation.
It was very sad. I haven't really ever felt like an outsider until the other day. I found out what Reform Pub was, and then I went to go try to join and realized that I didn't even have the credentials to pull that one off.
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah, I was banned before I even tried to apply.
Federal income. Big Nick in the comments said that Joel Osteen is federal income, not Federal Vision.
FI, you're so FI. Oh, that's a good one. That's my hockey buddy right there, coming through with the good jokes. Oh, I remember what I was going to say that I tried to cover and not make obvious that I forgot what I was trying to say. Is you really struck a chord with me last time, and it reminded me when you're talking about Matt Chandler, is so many people that we look up to have kind of got smushy, and we wouldn't really say are finishing strong. And I took that from our conversation last week, and I've been praying about it a lot because I kind of just take for granted us on the Fight Laugh Feast Network in particular, and other young bucks that are, holding true to the word, wanting to get in these conversations. Like, there's a good chance that one of us or some of us or all of us could be in the same boat. We're not exempt. And I just found myself really praying for myself and for all of us that we would finish strong, because these, like you said, these were like heroes of the faith. They were mentors to us, and we just see them just doing whatever they're doing. I mean, it didn't just happen overnight, right?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I think it's really a different situation for each individual. Some of these people, I mean, I'm not going to name names here because this is just my opinion, but some of these people that they've kind of had these beliefs all along, and they intentionally sort of kept them on the down low for a moment such as this. I think that there are people like that. But I think that a lot of people, I was talking to someone just the other day about this. And I was saying a lot of people, they get to a point where, they go to seminary, they spend a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of effort to get these degrees, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then they get a teaching position, and they start to get book deals and conference speaking gigs. And before you know it, their income and their the way they support their family is all tied up in this machine. And so they get to a situation where they start to see that, Federal Vision like creeps step out of line for a second, and the machine comes down on them. And it's like, well, they don't get invited to conferences anymore. They don't get the book deals anymore. And in some cases, and so in some cases, it's like, well, I see that happen to that dude. Like it happened to Tom Askell. Like, he released that trailer, and the weight of the machine came down on him. So in people's minds, subconsciously, even if they're not, thinking this through, they see what happened to Tom, and they're like, yeah, I don't want that to happen to me, because like I got 3 kids. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then in some instances, it's more direct. So they get a phone call, and the phone call goes something like this: if you do this, you will never get another book deal again. I'll make sure of it, and I can make it happen. And so it's tough, man, because it's easy for me to say hard things because not anymore, but very little of my income is tied to anything having to do with theology or Christianity or anything like that. I've got even when I was a pastor, I didn't take a salary. You know what I mean? So it was very easy to just say whatever I felt was true. And it should be that way for pastors that have their income tied up in the machine too, but I can at least understand to some degree why it's harder. And so to us, it might look like they're not finishing strong, but I think I feel for people that have kind of gotten all tied up into this financially, because I understand. I mean, if my kids' food depended on me not rocking the boat, I'm not going to say I wouldn't, but it'd be harder.
Yeah, you would probably definitely try to be more political. And we see this in the business world too, right? We'd be winsome. Yeah. Doug Wilson is not tied to anybody. He does his own thing, so he can do his no quarter November.
Well, you see, this is the point though. And that's because he's not fragile. And the reason he's not fragile is because people and people around him, his associates, his town, they've got their own printing press. They've got their own publication house. They've got their own podcast network. They've got their own stuff. So they don't rely on the machine, because if they relied on the machine, he would have been starved by now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
He's that self-sustaining house in the mountains that doesn't make contact with anyone for like 30 years. They have the solar, they have the water, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Except he makes contact.
And I'm not saying like it's bad to have friends in Big Eva, so to speak. It isn't, but you just got to be careful with it, because, you don't want that paycheck to influence how you behave, I guess is what I would say. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, I was always very grateful that I didn't take a salary for the church. In some ways it was hard, because I had to spend a lot of time in things that weren't income producing and take away time from things that were income producing. But on the other hand, it made my life much easier when it comes to following God. And it should be that way anyway, but I just know myself, it would be tempting to not, do the right thing sometimes.
Yeah. And I'm really glad that you said that, because one of my next questions was going to be like, how do we keep ourselves from going there? And I think one of them is a spiritual, definitely you got to fear God more than man. And the older you get, the more you're looking for security, your retirement, you have more kids, the harder that gets. Not taken away from that at all. But then the other thing is, it's almost investing advice, is you got to diversify your streams of income.
Sure.
And I talk about this on my business show a lot, is the fewer and fewer amounts of income that you have coming in, the more power those people have over you. If it's one job, you're one W-2, then they have complete power over you. You're not going to be as bold to try, not even like in a negative way, just like to try new things, to step out, to talk to people. You're going to try to play it safe more. And that I've heard a lot of advice from billionaires who say that like the people that can diversify income are actually more successful in all those different areas, because they do take risks and they are not as scared to fail. So that is good advice for us as we are growing and as we interact with Big Eva more and more. Although I feel like I am getting more and more rejected from Big Eva every single day. The past 3 days on Twitter has not been kind to me. And some of you have been helping me. Nick Cooper, I know you've been tweeting with me. AD got one retweet. That's all I can ask from him. Appreciate that. So some backstory, which a lot of people don't even care about and they want to jump in the fight, is John MacArthur pulled down the go home clip from the conference. Apparently he got some pull to pull that down. And he wanted to control the narrative and come out with a sermon to be able to further elaborate on his position. And last sermon that he had, he was talking about why women shouldn't be pastors. And I took a really spicy clip and I put it on Twitter, and I just upsetted a lot of eGals, a lot of girls and effeminates, and some other men too.
Whoa. And I thought I was crazy saying that the moon conversation with Nixon wasn't real.
Well, I've seen a lot of crazy stuff over the last few days. My most recent conversation was over Greek with a lesbian pastor who was telling me that when the Bible talks about homosexuality, it's not saying that you shouldn't do it. It's that you shouldn't judge people that are doing it. And then I had other conversations about how everything's figurative and symbolic and you can't judge people, to other people that had really, interesting arguments that were trying to sincerely argue their case. Mm-hmm. But most of the people, and including Christians, were just telling us how they felt. Feelings were hurt. And then even some of the girls would talk about their feelings, but mostly it was the eGal effeminates. And they would talk about how it's not nice and how mean he is and how it's all of these things. And yet I didn't hear one piece of scripture. And it was really depressing, AD.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I hear you. I hear you. It's something. I mean, there is this sort of natural inclination, and that I grew up with when I grew up in the faith, and I think we all kind of did to some degree, that we should not hurt people's feelings at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really a bad idea.
Yeah. It goes off the rails really quick because the
Very
enemy
quick.
comes in and invades. Exactly what the clip that John MacArthur was talking about. Your strong men are conquered. I mean, I literally had a Buddhist tell me about Buddhism and how nice that Buddhists are and all this stuff. And I said, oh, well, the Bible says you need to repent and believe in Jesus. And I had Christians attacking me about how ruthless I was and how they don't want to be around me and they don't want to know anything about me. Yeah. And literally all I said was the Bible says that you need to repent and believe in Jesus. Yeah. And apparently that is too harsh and controversial from Christians.
Well, what you didn't do, and this is, you got to understand this, Matt. You're supposed to apologize first. So here's, let me explain.
Okay.
You're supposed to say that the Bible says that, but first you got to say something like this. Look, I'm really sorry. And I hope this doesn't hurt your feelings. And if it does, take it or leave it. But the Bible says that you've made some mistakes and God wants better for you. And so that's why you should believe in Jesus, because, this is not God's best for you. I'm sorry. Please, can we be friends?
Yeah.
That would have been a lot better. You would have been fine.
Yeah, I should have used words like let's have a dialogue and discuss things.
This is something I've been thinking about a lot, Matt. And you can apply this here, and also like in politics a lot of the time this is the case, where there's this assumption, and it's a really stupid assumption, right? That anything too polarizing, anything that's all the way hot or all the way cold, that's wrong. And it's always the middle way. There's always a middle ground, a third way. It's always something. The truth lies in the middle somewhere. People love to say that kind of stuff. And it's so often not true. It's not almost never true that the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I totally know. It's one of my biggest pet peeves of all time. And honestly, I kind of struggle with it myself because I find myself playing that between Reformed people and evangelicals where I'm the middle person. And I know that there's this like some kind of mystical value in being in the middle, and I don't want to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm going to just have to commit to one side or the other pretty soon because I don't like this middle road. It's terrible.
I mean, it's good because often the middle road is just it's just wishy-washy. It's squish.
It's cowardly what it is, honestly, because
a lot of the time,
it is, because no matter what the subject is, people are always trying to go to the center and go to the middle. You see it with politicians, you see it with pastors, you see it with friends. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to call anyone out on anything. We don't want to have iron sharpening iron. We just all want to get along and feel good about ourselves and have a nice day.
Yeah, and sometimes there's a third way that's better than the two ways that you're being presented. I'm not saying that there's
definitely
never more than two options. That's not the case. But like this middle ground nonsense that people don't like definitive answers. And that's probably why you're getting that, Matt, is because like how arrogant could you be? I mean, I know the Bible says that, but there are other holy books too. And that person's trying to love God their way as well. Like that's probably why you're getting that, because you're just too sure of that. But that's the kind of thing you need to be sure of.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like the Big Lebowski. Yeah, well, that's your opinion, man. I feel like I got that so much over the last week. And anytime, honestly, that you take a firm stand on something, it's like your opinion. It's not fact. It's this really weird world we live in. And it's so funny. I started playing this game on Twitter, and you could tell certain people didn't really know how to take it, and they were asking me about it. But I would take a comment about John MacArthur's clip, and I would retweet it and say, is this guy a Christian or is he from the world based on his profile? Because I was trying to prove the point that these liberal Christians sound the exact same as the world, the atheists, the people that hate God. They sound the exact same, and you cannot tell the difference. And you'd go and they'd say like Christian liberal, or I'm an ally of the alphabet, or I'm a woman pastor or whatever. Or you'd see them as atheist. I hate God, left religion a long time ago, and they'd be saying the same exact things. It's scary. Like if I would reply back to some of these people, like as a Christian, like doesn't it cause you some concern or some pause that you're saying the exact same things that the non-Christians are saying? Doesn't faze them at all. I don't get it.
Well, I mean, it's very common. They obviously are comfortable with it.
Yeah, they are. And also they have their like taglines of, bigot, sexist, homophobic. It was amazing how many people called me racist when the topic had nothing to do with race whatsoever.
Yeah, well, the interesting part about this is that those are like so the tactics that you're describing. These are leftist progressive tactics. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And Christians are using them. And this whole idea, and it's like when you get called a racist by anybody at this point, you can almost guarantee that they just don't like what you're saying. Has nothing to do with you actually being a racist. You could almost like the amount of actual literal real charges of racist are probably so small that it's not even worth considering anymore. The definition is completely changed.
Yeah, it's ruined, actually.
Totally ruined. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to call real racists.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Kyle Howard.
Like Kyle Howard, yes, exactly.
I got to come up with a new word because race, like I said, racist has no oomph anymore. Who cares if I'm calling Kyle Howard racist?
Yeah, there's got to be some kind of biblical definition that we can bring back. Or just hater. I mean, or just a hater. And the reason like I'm so passionate about this whole thing is not because I care, or I should say I care, but I'm not caring about defending John MacArthur at all. It's that this logic, this argument, the positions that these Christians are taking, I'm just assuming they're Christians. Again, like I don't want to judge individual hearts. I judge people's actions. I think that's biblical. But like, I'm not going to say someone's a Christian or not a Christian, like we talked about with Beth Moore. Like, even if you are a woman pastor, I'm not going to say you're not a Christian. But like if you take what your positions are to the extreme, it becomes heretical. It becomes disastrous for you. And I don't think they see it. I don't think they see the end game of these positions at all. What do you think?
Well,
as you take a drink, perfect time host.
Just want to let you guys know here that this is not a 40 ounce. This is a mineral water.
Took a break from the White Claw.
Yeah. Anyway, do they think through the end game?
No, they don't, right?
No, most people don't think even one step ahead. That requires you thinking sort of multiple steps ahead. It's just not the way we're and it's no fault of their own. I'm not saying they're stupid. I mean, this is how you go to school. This is what they teach you. They don't teach you the steps of logic and rhetoric and things like that. No, they teach you, here's the facts. And now when I ask you what the question, the answer to the question is, you give me the answer that I gave you in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then you memorize that stuff and you do it enough times. And so it's really just the way we've been taught to learn is just to remember facts and spit them back. Mm-hmm. And it's very difficult to get anyone, including myself. I'm not immune to this. It's very difficult to get me to think 3-4 steps ahead the way I ought to.
Yeah. You got to play chess more. That's the solution. If anyone was curious about what I'm drinking Maker's Mark Mint Julep, exclusive to Kentucky. Can't get it anywhere else.
That's Federal Vision.
It is. And it's exclusive. Man, we got a gong in the background. We were talking about Buddhism, and all of a sudden AD's playing the gong in the background. But so I just want to give an example.
Right.
I want to give,
Fancy.
I want to give. 80's reception's terrible. Sorry, everyone. But so this is one example of really what I got from a woman that was arguing with me about women pastors. She said this: women got Jesus through his walk on earth, and we've always been the masterminds. And that was astounding. I was shocked. I don't know what that means as much as I don't know what happened to AD, but this is the stuff that is logically will lead you to. If you don't have to take the Bible literally, if you don't have to obey his commandments, then you go and believe crazy stuff like this. And, AD's so upset about it, he just left the screen. I don't know what happened to him. Let's see what happens to him. Anyways, so I've just been there he is. He's back.
I don't know what happened.
Federal Vision hacked in and took it. Too much moon talk.
I think the ERLC is sick of this.
Cancel culture, man. I tell you, it gets the best of us. But this is such a dangerous game, and it's a battle that we definitely need to be fighting because of where this is going to go. It's not going anywhere good.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, a lot of the people that think in these ways, they're just, I mean, obviously unbelievers. And so you treat them like you treat any unbeliever. You have compassion on them. You give them the gospel, and that's all you can really do. There's really nothing you can do to convince someone who's thinking that poorly about Christ to change their mind. You just got to wait for the Holy Spirit to do it.
Yeah, and honestly, that's freeing. And I hope everybody that listens to this understands that it is not your responsibility to convert people. It's your responsibility to preach the gospel and to do what God's called you to do. Mm-hmm. But we're not responsible for the results. And once I accepted that, like I knew it in my head, but really like started playing it out and just how my conversations happened, I became more effective, honestly. But then also there's a lot less pressure on me to see results because I was understanding that it's not my logic, it's not my persuasion, it's not how nice I can be or walk the center of the road that's going to get me to getting people to believe in Jesus. It's the Holy Spirit that's doing it. And it allowed me to walk in obedience a lot more faithfully, I would say.
What's so interesting about walking that middle road to try to get people to believe in Jesus, like if you think that you have to trick someone into believing in Christ, then and that's really what you think, like you have to be nice to them, you have to
manipulating them,
you have to call Obama like a great man, and like that kind of stuff. Like if you have to like trick them into it, then they're really not believing in Christ. They're believing in a trick.
Yeah,
like you can't trick someone into accepting Christ as their Lord and Savior. It doesn't work that way. He's either your Lord or he isn't. And if he's your Lord, but only if I can still vote Democrat, or only if I can still have sex with my boyfriend, or 100 men or something like that. If he's your Lord, only if you can do those things, you didn't actually trick him into anything. They're just still reprobate.
Yeah, I know. And that's what we're seeing with a lot of Christians. It's like, oh, if you say you have gender roles, you're a misogynist and all of these things, it's because Jesus isn't Lord of their lives. They are holding on to their value system. And it goes back to that quote that I think Doug said, but I'm not quite sure. Christianity is not offensive because it tells you to repent of your sins. Everyone can believe that you need to give up being an alcoholic, a drug abuser, and a sex addict or whatever.
Sure.
It's offensive because it's calling you to repent of your values and adopt Jesus's. And that's what this whole battle is about in the Christian circles between liberals and the people holding true to the Bible. They don't want to repent of their values. It's so frustrating. It's really frustrating, but they got to do it. It's as frustrating as AD's technical issues going on right now.
Am I having technical issues right now?
No, I don't know. I just saw you messing with your earpiece.
Oh,
you're good now. Oh,
so what else did I talk about?
So I wanted to talk about. So we can all agree on women shouldn't be pastors and elders. All of us who I care about, but I want to talk about women in government, a whole different sphere. So we have our individual spheres, we have our church spheres, our family spheres, and our government sphere. And part of this John MacArthur clip was women leaders were causing the weak men to lose in battle. And I was thinking about that because I don't think this is as wide held, quote unquote, if women preachers are anymore, about women not being leaders in government. So what say you about women leaders? Do you think it is okay in certain circumstances, certain positions? What say you? No. Oh, okay.
No. I would. That's not accurate. I wouldn't vote for a woman for president or something like that. But I could see a certain circumstance where a woman could lead something. But I don't think it's appropriate for a woman to be a head of state or a governor or something like that.
What would you say about like school board?
Well, I don't think a school board should exist, but
okay, bad example. But I'm talking about like something where it's like a local committee based, not like the head of, I don't know, council lady or something.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I would say probably not that either. But I mean, like let's just say like maybe like a principal for a school. That's like a real easy one. I could see I could see something like that. You know, like a female principal or something of that nature. But no, I don't think that God intends for it to be commonplace for women to be in leadership in the church, in the home, or in the government. That would be pretty weird. Like think about it this way. Like most Christians, Reformed Christians, believe that God says that the man is the head of the woman, right? So the man's the head of the household. That's pretty uncontroversial in most Reformed circles, right? We also believe that of the church. So men are elders in the church, women aren't. That's pretty uncontroversial, right?
Yeah.
The third sphere of government is civil government. Like, why is it so difficult to understand that God also doesn't intend women to be in leadership there? I don't understand what's controversial about that.
Because you're just stealing women's dignity and you're trying to oppress them, AD. Obviously.
Okay, so see, but this is what I know that people would say that. Now the evangelical people that think that they guide Jesus around by the hand and
hey,
like those,
who are you talking to?
Those people, the ones that you were talking to,
okay.
Isn't that what she said?
Yeah, that's what she said.
Okay, that's what
I just want to make sure you're not grouping all of us evangelicals into this.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm not.
Continue.
Anyway, so like those people, I don't care what they have to say. They're wacky anyway. But like, I just like, if I know there are Reformed people that would take the same kind of approach about like, this is a form of oppression. This is misogynist to say that you couldn't vote for Hillary Clinton for president. But I don't see how that could be the case, because if it's not misogynist at the home and it's not misogynist in the church, what magically makes it misogynist when I say the same exact thing in the third sphere of government?
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I'm totally on board with you on that. I think that women could be principals, even college professors, not seminary professors. Because that gets an argument too. Oh, they can't do anything to stay in the house. I mean, no, they don't have to stay in the house. They can do other things that, and even in a spiritual sense, like I've read books like that I wanted to recommend to other women. I've read them first and I've learned things from books. I don't even think it's necessarily bad that I'm not necessarily, I don't think it's bad that women are writing books about spiritual things.
No.
And like, I learned some stuff from them. Like even people I disagree with, I learned something today from arguing with a woman. And it's like, I'm not saying there's no value. They can't teach. They don't have, in fact, they should teach younger women. But it's these specific roles that God created for man. And there's specific roles that he created for women. And that's it. That's all. It doesn't matter if they're capable or not capable or whatever. It's what did God call you to do? And you need to do it.
I think the thing, so this it's very simple when you think about it. I think that we understand why this is how we have to think about this. God is not crazy. He's not arbitrary. He's not just random. So he didn't assign men and women different roles in the home just to be an ogre, just to be random. That's not how he is. He didn't do the same thing applies in the church. It's not random. It's just not, he just didn't go, hey, I'm going to think of some rules here. What's a good rule? Eeny, meeny, miny, men will lead the church. Like that's not how it happened. Right. He created men to be a certain way, and he created women to be another way. And the attributes that are good for a woman to have, like the nurturing attributes, the attributes where they want things to be even Stevens, everything, like those attributes are really good for women, but they're really bad for a leader. Yeah. This nurturing kind of thing, because what we need sometimes is a severe leader. We need a leader who's not going to be like, well, this guy's feeling this way today, and that guy's feeling that way today, and so we need to really be mindful. And we need a leader that can be exacting at times, And I'm not saying women can't do that, but what I am saying is that a woman's nature is not the kind of nature you want in a king or a president or a warlord, whatever you want to call it.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And I'm right on board with you. I was reading through like qualifications of a king because, again, we don't have a king. We're not a monarch. I understand all of that. But the principles that you look for in a king, you should be looking for in your leaders in our day and age, I think. And it's, it's Deuteronomy 17:14-21 should be among your brothers. It shouldn't be a foreigner, and it shouldn't have a lot of wives. It's definitely talking about a man.
Yes.
And I was thinking about this more like, because today we look at our government and be like, there's so many roles that women would be great at. But the problem is our government shouldn't be the way it is today. And I think because of that and how it often works, when we get one thing wrong, other things start coming off the rails too. And we get it all mixed up and it becomes very convoluted. And we just don't have a good sense of truth and direction anymore. Yeah. But if the government was doing its role and not stepping over its boundaries, defending us, war, enforcing the law, these are all duties that a man would do. They would be the ones who protect, enforce. The thing is, the core things that we as Christians should be advocating for the government. But when we start getting into, they need to, have child protective services, and they have to take care of the food stamps, and well, why couldn't a woman do that? And really, why couldn't they do that? But the government shouldn't be doing that in the first place. And so when you think about it from that way, and then I'm like, yeah, men should be the ones in government because it should be man roles.
Right. Well, and the other thing you got to understand is no, I don't think anyone would say that a woman, not a single woman is more capable at leading than any man. Nobody would say that. People often will say this make this kind of stupid argument when it comes to the WNBA. It's easy to mock the WNBA because it's just easy to mock it, right? And then they'll say something like this: "I'd like to see you play against them." It's right. I'm very confident that if I went up against a WNBA player one-on-one, I would get destroyed. That's a stupid way to argue. Nobody is saying that there's not a single woman that would lead better than any man. That's not what we're saying.
Right.
What we're saying is, and I'm also not going to say that there hasn't been a single woman who hasn't done a good job leading. I think we can even see this in the Bible, that there have been women that have done a decent job leading.
I heard about it in the last 3 days.
I'm sure you have, right? So nobody, at least I'm not making that argument. But what I am saying is that women aren't suited in general for those roles, and it's not proper for a woman to take those roles. God's order is a certain way. He ordered his world. It's not my call. Don't get mad at me. This is what God did.
Right. Yeah. And even if they could do just as good a job, that's kind of part of submission, is even when you think you could do a better job, it's, hey, I'm going to submit to God and what he's called me to do and trust him, even if I could do it better.
Sure.
Because he doesn't always call the most qualified. I mean, look at Israel, right? There are a lot better nations. There's a lot better people to lead sometimes, but sometimes it is who God wants to use for his glory, not for the persons.
Sure. No, absolutely. And I don't know. I mean, this is a touchy thing. The other thing that gets touchy is women in combat roles and stuff like that. And again, I don't see why this is so complicated for people. It is inappropriate for anyone to send a woman out to defend them. It's so inappropriate. I can't imagine any man who would be like, "Oh yeah, that's perfectly fine. I'll just go send my women out there to defend me." Yeah. That doesn't make any sense. But the problem is that men don't want to be lovely Christian men don't want to feel like ogres, and they are very sensitive to the charge of misogyny for some reason. And somehow it gets all twisted up that because I don't want to be a misogynist, I have to go send these women out to fight my wars for me. Yeah. That is the stupidest thing. It's completely topsy-turvy. It's upside down. So it's so crazy when you just say it that way. It sounds so stupid to say it that way, but that's what a lot of men are out there doing.
Yeah, definitely. And I wouldn't even say you can't join the military if you're a woman, Like there are a lot of positions that you could do in the military from my perspective, and talking with people in the military. But most people that I talk to in the military, and I gotta be careful here, they all from the people that I have heard in the military, they all agree that it is a stupid idea for women to be in combat. They're not against them being in the military, but actual combat roles, it's disastrous. And they go through, and they don't just talk about it like, oh, they're weaker, but it's like the mentality of a man and how they fight with a woman in the platoon or the battalion compared to when it's all men. Your dynamics completely change for the worse.
Of course. Yeah. That I mean, this should be on the face of it obvious. I just don't see how this could be confusing for anybody. But it isn't confusing for anybody. It's very obvious for all people. They just are deathly afraid of being labeled a misogynist or a meanie or the things that you've been being called for the last 3 days.
Geez. Yeah, I block it out, or I would just go insane. So I think that if the government was operating as it should only be men. But our government is so overblown and just out of its sovereignty limits that it's not even a battle worth fighting, honestly, for me. So I want to talk about something else that I've been wanting to talk about, and I think this kind of relates honestly with how things could be better or should be different, and allowing more of a role for women is the church structure. I've been wanting to talk about this for a little bit, as I think that not like what we do needs to stop in any ways. Like I think we should still have sermons. I think we should have worship service, communion, and all those things. But I think church should be so much more. And what I mean by that is, if it's true that we all have spiritual gifts and we all are part of the body, and we come together and we create the body of Christ, then we should be looking to serve, to use our gifts, and to edify the church. And I don't think that how our churches are structured, you go in, you sing a song, you sit down, you do your announcements, maybe you do a reading together, then you have the sermon, you sing some songs, and then you go your way. That doesn't seem like the most effective way to get everybody participating, benefiting, and edifying the church. And I know, just before I get my trusty Reform's opinion on this, that I know this is more of like a business perspective, where I'm just trying to figure out the most efficient way to have an organization run. But I keep trying to look through the Bible, and I think it goes back to even what we're talking about with our feast and communion, that there's just ways that we're doing things that weren't done like they were in the New Testament. And I think a lot of them takes away from people participating and using their gifts. What say you, Reformed man?
Well, I don't know yet. So what do you mean? What do you have in mind?
Like, I think there should be opportunities for people to pray together, that they should get to have opportunities to even talk about what God is doing in their lives and giving God glory, kind of like a testimony, but not on stage, but having group time, having time together where you can find out if somebody has a need and meet that need. Just finding way. I don't even have specific things that we need to all add together, but just looking for ways and how it makes sense in our local churches to get people to facilitate and use their gifts more effectively. Mm-hmm. And I think this would maybe even kind of create a little a release valve for women being in ministry, because there's only so many few things that people feel like they can do at church when everyone comes together, like your worship or your preaching. But if we could create areas for women to use their gifts too, I think that might help with that as well.
Listen, this all sounds very evangelical to me. So
I'm sure it does.
I'm very nervous about this. So what are you talking about? Like missional communities, community groups, stuff like that? What you're talking about?
No. I'm just saying, even you have your formal service, but then after, it's not just, all right, guys, see you later, see you next week, but actually having intentional time.
Yeah.
When we come together as a body to be together and using our gifts. I don't use my spiritual gifts when I meet Sunday. I just sit there and consume.
Love feasts and things like that. So you're talking about
that's a good step.
Well, I mean, so I hear that. So there's So first of all, what you're talking about is a couple things. I think you're talking about liturgy, number one. So
That's part of it.
So that's part of it. And then
Yep.
you're talking about sort of like the community of the church and what happens on the Lord's Day, because most of us, especially if you're evangelical, go to church for like an hour or a couple hours maybe on Sunday, and then you go home and go about your business. But I think that especially in Reform circles, there's a lot of people that have like a whole, it's really is the Lord's Day, and they have their worship service. They might even meet at night as well. They might have meals together throughout the day, that kind of thing. And that to me sounds very appealing to me, first of all, and probably sounds more like what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I definitely think that is more of it.
Because Reformed people see the Lord's Day as a holiday. Like like you have 52 holidays a year. And if you're really super duper Reformed, those are the only holidays you celebrate. So it's 52 every Sunday, and it's a whole day. They make a whole day of it. And I think that's pretty cool.
Man, I was really hoping to get some pushback. I wasn't really hoping to feel like I'm more Reformed than I thought I was.
Well, I mean, it all depends on what you mean. If you mean like some of this like kumbaya type stuff where everyone goes around the room and says what the memory verse means to them, well, that's a problem.
I'm not even saying like everyone has a turn at the podium or the pulpit or whatever you want to say, but like even just breaking off. And like one of the things that our church does that I really love is a lot of times they'll say, hey guys, just get together with 6 or 7 people and pray for each other. Like doing more of those things where it's part of every Sunday. Because I think we're missing out on a lot of the body being able to use their gifts and use how God wants to use them in the church when it's just set up for a few people to do it. And yes, even coffee hour is important. Cal, I saw that one.
Not according to the regular principles, not
according to that. But I feel like we would become more effective, and I feel.
Are you trying to tell? Yeah, it doesn't have to be Sunday. Are you trying to tell us to be the church and not just go to church? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes, I'm trying to tell you that.
That sounds super evangelical to me.
What? You as a Reformed person does not think that we're the church? You're Federal Vision.
Yeah, I knew it. It. This is a very complicated question that you've asked. There's a lot of things that go into this. Have you ever heard of covenant renewal worship?
What? No.
It's very Federal Vision. But no, this is actually one of the first things about Doug Wilson that I ever knew, this covenant renewal worship. You should check it out. I think he's got a few videos on YouTube on it. And it's basically an order of worship. It's a liturgy that is intentionally trying to get the key aspects of what the Bible says worship is and put it into a church service. And it's really, really interesting stuff. And the CREC does do it for the most part. So people will be like, that's Federal Vision. Don't touch it. But it really isn't. I mean, it's not Federal Vision. But you should check into it. And anyone who's listening, check it out. Covenant renewal worship. A lot of Presbyterian churches do it. I don't have time to explain it right now, but it's very interesting stuff. And I do think that there's a better chance if you go to a Reformed church, like a confessionally Reformed church, that you'll find the kinds of things that you're looking for, like to have a whole, everyone in the church is involved. They're having meals together. They're doing things together, like you said, praying together, things like that. I think that does happen with a lot of confessionally Reformed churches. Evangelical-ish, Calvinistic type churches probably don't do that a lot. But anyway, that's what I would say to that. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with the goal that you're trying to do here.
Yeah, I have to say this though about my Reform brethren. They do a really great job of getting together in families and meeting. The men will get together, the families will get together with all the kids, and they have tons of kids because they're Reformed. And they do have a lot more of this community mindset. And I think that's probably one of the things I'm looking for or hoping that the church kind of leans into more. It's not just about the service showing up and hoping they play the songs you like or you sing the hymns you like, and then it's a sermon that's really going to stir your heart. But what can you do to go and serve your body, the body of Christ, while you're there, and not just look to be served, but to serve and to bless the church as well. And I think we missed that. And that, I think it just turns our mindset upside down and we kind of go for the wrong things.
You know, I did not see this before, but I'm just on Twitter right now. And I see Toby Sumter tweeting a whole thread about why women shouldn't be in combat. That is what's known as providential, my friends.
That is. So go make sure you tag Reformgelical in his thread, because I'm sure he's going to get a lot of heat about it as well. He's been getting a lot of heat about that lately.
Why? I just don't get it. I honestly don't get what could be less misogynistic than saying, women, I don't want you to fight my battles for me.
Because who are you to tell me what I can and can't do? It's the same thing.
I'm me.
I'm me. All right. Let's see. Nobody voted on the should women be in leadership roles in the government. Not one of you guys did.
Where did you post this?
There's a polls. See where it says call to action, ask questions, where we can ask questions or they can ask questions. And then there's a polls. You don't see the polls?
I'm sorry. I just got
Are you
I just got distracted.
Oh, Nick, my goodness.
Nick, listen to this.
Okay.
I'm on Twitter right now, Nick, and there's a account I follow that posts all kinds of NASA pictures. And it has the same galaxy photographed supposedly before the optics correction for the Hubble and then after, and it looks a lot clearer after. But I gotta be honest, these colors, I think they're probably fake. It doesn't say that, but from what I understand about these pictures, these colors are probably pretty fake.
Photoshopped.
They photoshopped these colors.
Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, nothing encourages people to stay to the end of the show like a host being on Twitter during the end.
No, but I don't see the poll, so I don't know.
Oh,
maybe I'm just technologically challenged, I think.
Maybe you are. Well, for those of you who are not on screen, when you do join us live, you can take polls and you can ask and you can answer the difficult questions that we are also sharing as well. And with that, I think we will call it a night so AD can get back to his NASA pictures. This has been Reformgelical, where the Reformed and Evangelicals meet. My name is Matt Williams, saying goodbye for me and AD Robles. We'll talk to you next time. God bless.
Take care.